Hello, my name is Professor Nira Chamberlain, and I'm the president of the Mathematical Association. And welcome to the 19th edition of What is the Point of Mathematics? Now, today we have a special guest. So, without further ado, I shall ask him to introduce himself. There we go.
Awesome. Very good to be here. So I am Dr. Tom Crawford. I am a mathematician at the University of Oxford. And I also, well, you may also recognize me from various YouTube videos, either on my own channel, Tom Rocks Maths, or with Numberphile, the largest channel on YouTube with now over pi million subscribers. And obviously, we're way more excited about pi million than we are about 4 million.
Hey, fantastic, fantastic. So you still don't go by the name, the Naked Mathematician? No.
I do still occasionally, just for like the old school fans do occasionally request a naked mathematician performance. So no, I have every now and then, if there's like a sort of subscriber celebration. So recently when I hit 100,000 subscribers, I did do a little video and a little show of doing maths in my pants. Yes. So
Right.
every now and then it comes out for special occasions.
Well, I'm not that hardcore. As further as I can go, it's just putting on mass clothes. So that's why I put on this special hoodie there, just to to say respect to you, but put down the hoodie. But this is as far as I'm gonna go. Cool. So so here comes the second question. So Tom, what is the point of mathematics?
Oh, I would say the point of mathematics is to try to understand the world around us. I'd actually say there are 2 points. I'd say the first one is to try to understand the world around us. And I would say the second point is to just kind of tap into your sense of curiosity and the inherent desire as a human to want to solve problems. So I would kind of say they are the 2 points. In terms of the first one, to expand a little, when I say to understand the world around us, I think as someone who is an applied mathematician and works in the area of fluid mechanics, my research is around modeling ocean pollution and the spread of pollution in the ocean, so we can try and do a better job of stopping it. And so the fact that maths is a tool for helping us to solve that problem is sort of, I guess, what I mean by trying to understand the world. It's like you identify a problem, you identify a situation in the world, and I think maths is the tool that you use to understand that. And then the second thing I mentioned around like problem solving, this idea of curiosity, I think there's just something inherently human about being curious about things and about when faced with a problem, trying to overcome it, trying to solve it. And I think that the point of maths in a way is to teach you to be able to do that, because maths is kind of if you could distill problem solving as a discipline, I think you would ultimately end up with like maths, in my opinion. So I think sort of, another reason or another point of maths would be to really train yourself and learn how to solve a problem.
Now, you did mention about your research there. So let's say for a lay person, or if he's talking to, let's say, a 15-year-old, can you expand on that? Because that is probably something that people won't realize, that actually this is what mathematics can actually be used on. So if you're just going to expand a little bit more about your research, but as if you're talking to a 15-year-old.
No, of course. So the research started during my PhD, my PhD project, and I think there's actually an interesting lesson to be learned, because I was studying the project because it was interesting mathematically. So it sort of tapped more into that kind of sense of curiosity and that kind of like, this is just a hard thing to solve. And so I felt like that would be a good challenge and a good thing to work on for my PhD. And we were trying to look at the problem of where river water goes when it enters the ocean. Is how I would best describe it. In the real world, from a more technical perspective, you have a rotating system, which is the Earth, and then you have your river water, which is fresh water. So it is lighter, has a lower density than the ocean, the salt water. So when the river reaches the ocean and the water flows out, what you've really got is an input of buoyancy, an input of lighter fluid into a rotating environment, because the whole thing is rotating. So the technical thing, and the thing I got really excited about originally, was to study the input of buoyancy in a rotating environment, where this comes to life in the situation of rivers entering the ocean, but of course could be generalized to other situations. Now, having studied that for 4 years during my PhD, we then realized that this is incredibly applicable to the problem of pollution and the spread of pollution in the ocean, because 80% of pollution in the ocean actually comes from the land. And so if therefore we're trying to understand and manage this issue of pollution, one way we try to do that is we take our resources we have available, whether that's ships with nets or various other chemicals to dissolve microplastics, whatever it might be. You want to apply those in the areas where the pollution concentration is the highest. So you want to maximize the resources you have available in your cleanup operation. So what that means is identifying where most of the pollution will be. And the answer to that question is, where will most of the pollution be? Is exactly where the river water will be. So the question I was studying of where does river water go when it enters the ocean is actually the same question as where will most of the pollution be? And of course, especially the pollution you can't see, because, you know, the giant floating garbage patches, etc., very obvious. And obviously we are doing our best to clean those up. Can't really ignore them. But the invisible stuff like microplastics, like chemical pollution, fertilizers dissolved in the water, can't really see that. And so the models that I've been working on are now helping us to identify the areas most susceptible to pollution, and then we can go in and test those areas and then go and hopefully clean things up.
Well, maybe I'm biased, so here comes this caveat of me being biased, but as a mathematical modeler, I have to say, after hearing that, nobody can say what is the point of mathematics and say there's no points after hearing that. Do you know what I mean? So, but that's just my biased point of view, but yeah. I'm expressing it. Okay, excellent. So, final question. Now, our Prime Minister earlier this year stated that mathematics should be made compulsory for everybody up to the age of 18. What is your views on the matter?
I think it, in theory, is an excellent idea. I would argue, and of course I am biased as a mathematician, but I would argue that the skills you learn as a mathematician are incredibly important. So like I was saying about this ability to actually solve a problem, to take a problem, to break it down into the key components, the key steps, and then try and tackle those one by one. I think that's what maths can teach you. And that is just an incredibly valuable skill in life in general, and also definitely in any career that you go into. Like, I think the majority of careers and jobs can actually be broken, even if they're practical and sort of manual labor jobs. You're still saying, okay, there is a problem here. How do I fix this problem? Whether that's building a wall, constructing a house, whatever it might be, there's still a problem, and you're still breaking it down into steps and analyzing and solving those steps. So I think maths teaches you that. So I would argue that regardless of whether or not you're going to use trigonometry or quadratic equations or whatever it is, it's not about whether you're going to use that in your future career. It's the way it teaches you to think. It's like doing weight training for your brain is how I would think about it when you're doing maths. So that, I think, is why I'm sort of think this is a good idea to ask everybody to study maths to 18. But I think it's really, really important as to how that is going to be implemented. Because if it is going to be forcing everybody to do A-level maths, then I think that's a terrible idea. Because A-level maths is quite abstract and it requires your brain to work in a certain way. And that wouldn't work for everybody. So I think in theory, it's an excellent idea, but the actual implementation is going to require different options, different courses that people can take. So maybe some people do an equivalent of A-level maths. Some people do something like the core maths qualification. There needs to be like different tracks to fit people's interests. But I think overall doing more maths is a huge positive.
Okay. And I was going to take one of the things that Dr. Tom says there, weight training for your brain. We might have to have that as a new logo. Weight training mathematics, the weight training for your brain. As a sort of the logo doing that. Well, thank you very much indeed, Tom. That's an excellent. So that concludes the 19th edition of What is the Point of Mathematics? My name is Professor Nira Chamberlain, and I'm the President of Mathematical Association. Thank you very much indeed again for Tom, and thank you everybody else for listening, and goodbye.